Hey guys, the Firebird is here. It's just me, and Earthrise is finally out. So if you haven't watched the series yet, leave this video and come back once you're done because this video will contain heavy spoilers. So first things first, much like when I covered Siege for the first time, this time around I'll first go over the character deaths and disappearances because there was a bit of that in Earthrise too. I'm not sure if we had as many deaths as Siege, but we definitely had some deaths going on in this series, and some of them need some explaining and some of them need some clarification because some of them are actually kind of not deaths, but really it's complicated. If you watch the series, you know what I'm talking about. So yeah, you've been warned. Our first character that happens on the first episode, and that's actually Steeljaw, who we never really see transform. Steeljaw is one of Blaster's cassettes, and although Blaster was never seen in the series itself, the Decepticons are basically dissecting Steeljaw to use him to lure the Autobots, Little One's Autobots, to a trap. He's the first Autobot dead that we can confirm because the Decepticons pretty much said that he was pretty much dead and he never appears later in the series. So for all intents and purposes, he's dead. I'll just get this one out the way. Next deaths, a bunch of nameless Decepticon drones and Decepticon seekers. They're basically the Steves of this universe. Although in comparison to the Steves, I feel like the seekers here are slightly more competent, but that's not saying much. Tons of them get slaughtered throughout the series, much like in Siege. So I'll just mention all of them like just right now. A lot of them do get killed. Many Refractor clones and many Starscream clones get killed. Most of them, if not all of them, are pretty much unnamed. Another character dead, and this is more of a disappearance right than a death because we're not sure he's actually dead. It's Scorponok. In the show, after the Autobots and Decepticons have their little encounter with him, both sides flee to their ships and Starscream decides to pull off Megatron Tread on the leader now and decides to blow up the station because he believes that Megatron is still there. So he blows it up and that explosion creates a portal to the dead universe. Now, the Megatron and his Decepticons and Optimus Prime's crew all make it through the dead universe safely, but Scorponok is not seen again after this, and I think we're not gonna see him again. Just saying. We could, it could always happen, but I kinda doubt it. I think that he was just a one-time deal. But I'm gonna list him here as a disappearance rather than a death because it's a bit hard to confirm. Now, another death that we have here is Skylinx, and honestly, going into this, I was like, if Skylinx appears, he's probably not gonna play that huge of a role. And, lo and behold, he didn't play that huge of a role. He just helped Optimus Prime and the Autobots, traverse through the dead universe all the way to Earth, and after that he took a bullet for them, which ultimately resulted on his death. He disintegrated into a million pieces. Oh, and also the Skylinx is not a time traveler. So yeah, there goes those theories down the window. But Skylinx is one of those characters that we can confirm did in fact die. Another character that we're not really sure it's a death, but it's more so implied, will be Galvatron. Shortly after Skylinx dies, Unicron finds out that Galvatron has been a very naughty boy and needs to be punished. So he's basically pulling him back to the future. Somehow, I don't know how, and the series never bothered to explain it, but it happens. So knowing how Unicron is and knowing how afraid Galvatron was to go back, I'm only led to believe that the worst awaits Galvatron. And even if, Unicron's not gonna kill him outright, the mere fact that he appeared on the present timeline to warn Megatron of the future, and Megatron and Optimus do imply later on that they actually do know about some of the events that are gonna happen in the future. So most likely than not, Galvatron's existence will be erased because the timeline's been changed. If this Galvatron is in fact from the future and not from another universe, because I'm gonna make a separate video talking about the whole Galvatron paradox because I feel like that's very interesting and needs to be explained and dissected a bit more. But for now, just know that Galvatron can either be disappearance or just outright killed, either or. Although I'm leaning more towards him probably being killed. If he's not killed by the whole, universe time travel aspect, he's certainly gonna be killed by Unicron. Now, another character that was both Exhaust and Bugbite, which, I was, kind of expecting them to die. And also, I'm still pretty disappointed that Exhaust didn't use his toy mask. He was basically a recolor of Wheeljack. Now, I don't mind recolors because Transformers do that, but they could at least bother to give Exhaust a new head, you know, make him a bit different. I mean, they did that for the Coneheads, so why not do it for the Mercenaries as well? Like, I don't mind Bugbite looking almost the exact same as Bumblebee, but with Exhaust, they should have changed that. Both of them got killed by Cog, of all people. He was the one who killed them, which it honestly surprised me and made me have a newfound respect for him. Speaking of which, Cog also died because he was impaled by the Quintesson. I think his name was Odysseus or something like that. Sorry, the series is still pretty fresh in my mind, so I'm gonna have to rewatch and like let some of these things sink in. He was heavily injured and he was trapped aboard the Fortune, the mercenary ship, which I really do hope we get a toy out of someday because I would love to have that ship. Unfortunately, he was stuck in the ship when it exploded, so he actually did die from the explosion. Sorry, Cog, it looks like you're not dodging death this time. Now, another character disappearance will be the Coneheads. We don't know what happened to them. I don't think they're seen in the ending. In the ending, the mercenaries are basically trying to board the Ark and kill both Autobots and Decepticons, because right now they're under the command of the Quintesson. During the fight, Doubledealer / the Quintesson basically calls for all hands to report. We know Exhaust and Bugbite are dead because they were killed by Cog. But as for the Coneheads, we have no idea. So these characters are more missing in action rather than anything else. Moving away from the final fight back to Cybertron, holy hell, there's a lot of death on Cybertron, especially due to the ending. So Alita 1 and her Autobots infiltrate the place where Megatron used to give his long and slow speeches back in Siege, and they're basically trying to blow up the whole thing because Shockwave has set up shop there and he's using the sparks of other Cybertronians to basically keep himself and his small Decepticon forces alive, like a vampire. So the Autobots naturally go to stop it, and they set up charges in the place, trying to blow it up. Unfortunately, their cover is blown and they're promptly captured. And Alita 1 is captured and placed right next to one of the charges, and the charge explodes before she can make it out. I mean, just look at the size of that explosion. Even if she did make it out in the last possible second, there is no way she survived that. By all intents and purposes, she is dead. Same with Chromia, Red Alert, Jetfire, Skytread, and that Refractor Decepticon with a scar. I'm sure his toy has a name, and I'm probably gonna put it on the screen right now. They never mention his name, so I do know that he has a toy. He's one of those exclusive, you know, Reed color toys, but they never really brought up his name in the show itself, so forgive me for not knowing it. But yeah, all of the Autobot resistance got obliterated when K.I.A exploded. Skytread is dead. Spinister, well, unless he pulls a Palpatine once again and comes back to life for no reason, was also caught in the explosion. Now, the only one that could have feasibly made it out here, like, alive, will be either Shockwave or maybe Jetfire. Like, for Kingdom, I can see them bringing back Jetfire, but I feel like the whole thing on Cybertron is pretty much done. Most of the Autobots and Decepticons just dying with the explosion would just help cement the fact that Cybertron is gone. At this point, like, there's not much the Autobots and Decepticons can do. They're basically fighting for rubble now. And since time travel has been a thing that has been established due to Earthrise and Galvatron's appearance, I believe that for Kingdom, these characters are gonna stay dead and they're gonna be brought back through time travel. But for all intents and purposes, right now, in this timeline, they're all dead. With the exception of probably Shockwave, who probably made it out in time. Another character disappearance was the Quintesson. After basically fatally injuring Cog, he leaves the Fortune. Well, he goes somewhere else and then the Fortune explodes. Now, I don't think the Quintesson is gonna be dead for Kingdom. I think he's gonna come back because he's one of those characters that I feel like has a lot of story potential. Especially with him interacting with the Decepticons, the Maximals, the Predacons, and his death being more ambiguous because he just, you know, he leaves the scene and we don't know what happened to him. I feel like we're definitely gonna see him back in Kingdom, but for now, he gets listed as being another disappearance. Now going back to the Mercenaries, Doubledealer is a weird one. Like, we saw Bugbite and Exhaust get shot and, you know, they're now drifting in space, supposedly, you know, dead. And the Coneheads got supposedly taken out by Cog, but since we didn't see that, they're M.I.A. Doubledealer is a weird one. The Quintesson that was controlling Doubledealer did mention that Doubledealer is in fact alive, but at the same time, just look at him. This guy looks like a zombie. he looks really dead to me. Even if he's still alive, he was still present when the ship got blown up. He was supposedly still knocked out when the Fortune blew up. And I thought Cog would just let him, you know, get away. He still had enough strength to point his gun at somebody. And so Doubledealer for me is more of an M.I.A. He could definitely return for Kingdom, but I think the mercenaries are pretty much done and we're not gonna see them again. But I'll list them as M.I.A. for now. Now this is more of an implied one, more than a technical one, and that is Nemesis Prime. Now Nemesis Prime only appeared on the show for 3 seconds. Yeah, what we saw in the trailer was his complete appearance, and honestly, I like to say, I told you so. We're gonna see Nemesis Prime, but he's just gonna be in here for like a couple of seconds, that's it. Because they have so much stuff going on that I doubt we're gonna get a whole Nemesis Prime subplot. He's probably gonna be a cameo, and I was right. He's like, a vision of a possible future of Optimus Prime, and since we know that Optimus Prime knows about the future and he's Optimus Prime and Nemesis is just him but evil, we do know that Optimus is not gonna turn evil, he's not gonna go down the same path, that's not what they're setting up. So for all intents and purposes, the future of Optimus becoming Nemesis Prime is all but gone, so we can expect that to not happen. So Nemesis Prime is erased from existence, I guess, if you wanna call it that. Another death that I think the series confirmed was also Cliffjumper. Now in the previous series we don't know if he died or not, and in this series he didn't appear here once. Now we do know that Elita 1 and her Autobots were basically rescuing both Autobots and Decepticons that were being kept on prison camps. And when we see the team in the theater, you know, tending to their wounded, we don't see a single trace of Cliffjumper or any other relevant Autobots that are not just recolors. So yes, Cliffjumper did in fact die because the only Autobot fighters left on Cybertron are Elita 1, Jetfire, Red Alert, and Chromia, and they all die at the end, with the exception of maybe Jetfire, who has the highest likely possibility of still being alive by the end. Now returning once again to Character Disappearances, my boy Barricade disappears once again. Like, he disappears pretty much right after they enter the Dead universe. We have a small scene of like Barricade confronting Starscream about, you know, Megatron being alive or not, and Starscream does the whole "I'm the leader now," and he gets shoved to the side, and after that I don't think he reappears again. No, seriously, when the Autobots are taking control of the Nemesis, we see Astro Train, we see one of the Seekers, we see a Refractor, but we don't see Barricade. And when Megatron re-enters the Nemesis bridge, once the gate to the Dead universe opens, he's not seen anywhere on the bridge, so he just barricaded out there. Again. Man, I love you, but can you please stop disappearing so much? I mean, supposedly he's still alive, but we just don't know where he is. He pulled a barricade on us once again. Now, I guess I could label M.I.A. the rest of Optimus Prime's crew, like RC, Wheeljack, Ironhide, Ratchet, and same thing for some of the Decepticons that were part of Megatron's crew, like Astro Train, some of the Seekers, Thundercracker, nobody cares about the Refractors, never mind. Like, there's a lot of characters that I could label as such, but at the same time, I feel like most of them are just gonna return for Kingdom, like nothing had happened. No, I guarantee you, like, at the end of the show when we see Dinobot, and when we see that he's like looking at the Ark, we see that the Ark is, for all intents and purposes, basically in one piece. And keep in mind that the Ark was closer to the Fortune exploding than the Nemesis. So my guess is that the Nemesis is gonna be in an even better position to have its crew be alive. And we all know how fun the show is of giving plot armor to some of the Autobots. So my guess is that most of them, if not all of them, that were inside the ship are alive. Everyone who was outside the ship at the time, like Cog, the Quintessence, the Mercenaries, are all fair game. And yeah, guys, those are all the deaths that we know about in Siege. Also, one more thing I guess I should mention is that Omega Supreme and the Guardians are sort of implied to be dead. At no point do we get a confirmation saying that, hey, these guys are all dead. But the Autobots do mention that at some point when Crystal City fell, Omega Supreme, he just vanished. He was never heard from again. It is possible that maybe the Decepticons waged the war against the Guardians and killed a whole bunch of them. So Omega Supreme by the time of Earthrise is still M.I.A, missing in action, and the Guardians are also sort of M.I.A. We just don't know what happened to them. It is implied that the Decepticons sort of went after them shortly after Omega Supreme rebelled, but it's still really unclear. And yeah guys, those are all the deaths in Transformers Earthrise. Overall, I think more people sort of died in Earthrise than Siege. At least, well, unless some of the show producers go on interviews later and say that some of these characters are still alive. Because, I mean, they did that for Siege, even though it made zero sense in Siege how certain characters survived. I made a whole video about it. Like, Siege broke that, and Earthrise, I feel like to some degree Earthrise also broke that, and I'll go more in depth into that in a future video, because that's a genuine critique I have about the show. What can and can't kill a Transformer is still sort of unclear. But overall, I like the Earthrise. I think I like it better than Siege. The first 3 episodes actually really hooked me, while in Siege the first 3 episodes, like, I was just sort of struggling while going through them. I do feel like episode 5 was the weakest. I just found it kind of, you know, long, the whole talking and stuff. There was some interesting imagery and some not so interesting imagery. Galvatron, I'm looking at you in that appearance. But as for the final episode, I really like how tense and action-packed the ending for Earthrise was. So that was pretty cool. Anyways, let me know what you guys thought about Earthrise. Did you like it? Did you hate it? Would you watch it again? In comparison to Siege, do you like it more? Do you like it less? And are you hyped for Kingdom? Honestly, I'm really hyped for Kingdom, and that ending with Dinobot, I can't wait to see what Kingdom brings to the table. And Earthrise, I feel like it was sort of a step into the right direction. There are still some problems, and I will talk about them in the upcoming weeks. So if you guys want to hear more about the show and my opinions on it, like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll do more. So yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Hopefully they take that more seriously this time. But anyways guys, before we go, shout out to our patrons: TrueBlue712, Stitch Productions, Stephanie Bowler, Christopher Prime, Frederick Hunter Plays, Mario Gordon, and the absolute madman himself, Jordan the Great, who donated $100. Thanks a lot to you guys. I tip my fedora in gratitude. A link to their channels and our Patreon are gonna be in the description and in the comments down below. Make sure to go check out their channels. Some of these guys do pretty cool content, and if you guys want to shout out your subs, all you have to do is donate to our Patreon. By donating to our Patreon, you get quite a few rewards. You can collab with me in some of my videos, you get exclusive roles on my Discord server, you can request your own videos, maybe even appear in some of my videos if you so choose, and I'm adding more rewards as time goes on. So yeah, it's a pretty good deal. But keep in mind that it is completely optional, because freedom is the right of all sentient beings. So yeah, thank you guys for donating, it's much appreciated, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye.